Hello everyone. I hope that everyone is having a good day. I have a little project that I want to do because this has been on my mind for a long time. I cannot stand where I keep my spices. It is a mess. I have to move like 20 jars of spices to get to the one, if I can even find it. So, quite a while ago, I had saw a video that somebody had posted, I think maybe on Facebook. I can't really remember, but I do remember the video because they did a hack on how to organize your spices, and I thought that I would give it a try, and I thought maybe you'd like to watch me try to give it a try, and if I am unsuccessful, then yeah, everybody can see how totally inept I am. But anyways, I'll talk to you in just a little bit, and we'll see how to do this. Here are all my spices, and I actually have a whole lot more, but not in shakers. They're just in containers, and then I put them in these shakers. A lot of this is my own, and some of it is just stuff that I have purchased. But what I did is I took my drawer out so that I could measure it, and I could get started on my project. For the project that I have in mind, you're going to need a piece of foam board, and these only cost $1 at Dollar General. So that's really cheap in order to organize your spices. Now, I happened to also purchase this little utility knife because my husband's knives are bigger, and I wanted something that I could adjust the height of that blade really low. So this was $1, and hey, that's all I bought. Spent $2.12 on tax. The next thing that you're going to need is a glue gun, which they sell the glue sticks at the dollar store for $1 also. But I happen to have a whole bunch of these, so I didn't need to do that. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Now, the first thing you're going to need to figure out is the width of your drawer and the length of your drawer. Mine happens to be 15 by 17. So what I decided to do is, as you saw, I took out all my spices. So I knew what the tallest jar height was all the way down to the smallest. And I decided that I am going to do 4 rows of 2 at 5 inches, 1 at 4 inches, and 1 at 3 inches. And this is my 1 at 5 inches right here. But I will show you how I did this. Actually, very easy. So let me move my drawer and we'll get started. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our foam board and we are going to just measure whatever your width happens to be and draw a line. My width happens to be 15, so I am just going to measure this to 15, and I will just draw a line all the way up the board. Now that we have our line drawn, we're going to take our knife and we are going to cut this totally off. And this will actually just score. And that way you can just go on the other side and just cut off your excess. And there you got it. Now what you're going to do is we are going to draw a line for the height that you want for your first row. I'm going to start with the 4 and I'm just going to measure that off. Okay, you can see that I have a line drawn across there because this is 4 inches here. Now I'm going to take 1 inch above this line and I'm going to draw another line. Okay, so you can see we have 2 lines drawn here. We are going to score this one. We only want to cut through the first layer of paper. This one we're going to totally cut off. So that is totally cut off, and this one is just scored. So it's just, and that is actually our very first shelf. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 supports. We'll take our extra piece and we'll just measure up from the height of our 1 inch. And from that, I will measure out 4 inches, and I would just simply draw a line from there to there. And that's how you know your support. And we will just simply cut that out. And that is our support. Now I want you to notice something. You see how when you're like this, it's angled this way? That's how you want it. You don't want to glue it where this is a straight edge. You want it to come back just a little bit like that. You don't want it to be totally flat like that. So all you do is you just flip this over. You're going to put your glue onto the side here, and you're going to put your glue gun, onto this side here. A little more there. And I'm just simply going to place it like that. And we will just continue making these the way I showed you. And these just simply fit down inside your drawer. And now you can put your spices down. And here is my finished spice drawer with all my spices nicely organized. For today's devotion, we will be reading from Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 23. You have heard that the ancients were told, "You shall not commit murder, and whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court." But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be guilty before the court. And whoever says to his brother, "You good for nothing," shall be guilty before the Supreme Court. And whoever says, "You fool," shall be guilty enough to go into the fiery hell. So, the question is anger the same as murder? And according to our verses I just read, Jesus is equating anger with murder when it comes to the seriousness of sin. There's no scale when it comes to sin. There's not a sliding rule that goes from bad to worse with sin. Losing one's temper and murder are the same in God's eyes. Which leads us to, Jesus got angry. So how can anger be a sin? Because Jesus never sinned. Well, it can be a little bit complicated, especially when we read in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, "In your anger, do not sin," or as the New King James Version says, "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath." What must be understood is that Jesus displayed righteous anger. Righteous anger is not wrong. It is righteous anger that he displayed in the Bible. It's an anger that comes when God is not respected, when our fellow man is taken advantage of, or an injustice is committed against the defenseless. This kind of anger often moves us to action. However, if in the process of defending the defenseless, our behavior, if we lose our temper and the words we have spoken or our actions are ungodly, then the righteous anger that we had abruptly becomes wrong in God's eyes. It becomes sin. Contempt for others is sin. This is any feeling of superiority, belittling, or insulting others, all which are sin. Name calling is sin. According to Jesus, name calling is a sin equal to murder. Here the word fool is similar to the word moron. Do you see the gravity of what Jesus was talking about? The seriousness of an arrogant attitude and pride that leads to disrespecting others is no laughing matter. If we've belittled another or even called them a harmless yet derogatory name, we need to stop and we need to make it right. So, with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And never lose heart when you've blown it and sinned, because we all have. And we have 1 John 1:9 that tells us, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Ask God to give you strength when you're getting angry. And God bless. I will talk to you tomorrow.